Hey guys, Weird Kid, and here we are for another episode of Corona Cafe. I believe this is day 5. Um, I wanted to clear up a few things. Yesterday, I was talking about when I was showing my books. I kept saying for some reason that Tom Savini's character in Dawn of the Dead and Land of the Dead was Blade. I don't know why I was saying that as a brain fart. It happens. I'm getting old. It's Machete. That was his character's name. It was Machete. And then when he came back as a zombie in Land of the Dead, it was Machete. And I always known that. I don't know why I was brain farting. The other thing too, when I was flipping through the books, I came across the picture of Nosferatu, and I couldn't think of the. It was actually Keith from Cobwebs and Candlesticks said that Nosferatu was played by Max Schreck, which I knew that, but the photo that we were looking at and the person's name I was trying to find was the German director Werner Herzog, because he had made a Nosferatu film as well, and I believe those were photos. I'm going to go back and check, but I believe those were photos from Werner Herzog's um, Nosferatu. Anyway, speaking of Keith from Cobwebs and Candlesticks, we got a little. You guys need to go check out his page there because he's doing updates on a daily basis as well. And today we got a little shop tour. Keith restores old cars and everything, does body work and paint and all this and that, and fabricating from the looks of it. And he gave us a little shop tour today, but he's also working on a 1/1 scale gravedigger, which I think is absolutely awesome. So I'm going to talk about Halloween props today. Once upon a time, like I told you, I used to have this huge collection of movies, DVDs, horror related toys, collectible toys, vintage toys, books, magazines, everything on Halloween and horror and movies and stuff. I'm a horror kid through and through. You might hear this squirrel over in the background. I don't know if he's trying to scald me or if he sees a cat or something, but he's scalding away. So if you hear that, that's what that is. But the other thing I used to do was I used to put on a huge haunt here at my house. And I used to spend, I'm not no joking, I used to spend close to $1,000 a year on Halloween between building props and buying props. Now, back then, this was before Spirit. Back then, around Halloween, we used to go to Spencer's Gifts, which, as you know or may not know, Spirit is a sister company of Spencer's Gifts. And back then, it seemed like that was when I got the first animatronic. It was a Spencer's Gifts exclusive, and it was this zombie that like swayed back and forth and said brains, brains, and it was great. And it seemed like compared to now, the quality was so much better back then. And I had a lot of them. I had a lot of those animatronic figures. I had Jason, that was from Friday the 13th. I'd say he was close to 7 feet tall once he was all together. I had a one I really regret getting rid of, Dr. Shivers. He was this mad scientist. Loved that thing, and I look at the price of him now; it's ridiculous. I had the zombie. I had a butler. I had I had all kinds of stuff. I had a remote control zombie that crawled on the ground. But I'd also I built this whole mad scientist laboratory, and I had bought, excuse me, I had spent probably $300 or $400 on this laboratory equipment. It was a buyout, and I had all kinds of beakers and flasks and the stands and everything, and so I centered my whole build around this. So basically, it was this big mad scientist um, setup with a big laboratory, and I had an operating table with all kinds of stuff, a cadaver and lights and everything. It would take me literally 2 days to take it out of the shed, and about 2 days to set it up, and then another 4 days to break it down and put it away. But it was fun because everyone in town, this little town that we live in, knew about my house, and they would come in droves. I mean, I would have to spend a lot of money on candy because it would just be nonstop, nonstop. And I'd have a little party, have some friends over, cook on the grill, have a few cocktails, you know, and just enjoy the time. But I don't know, after the market went bust in '08, yeah, 2008, when the market fell out and the economy kind of went to crap, it slowed down. Not as many people showed up at Halloween. They didn't participate as much. And and that was at the time where I wanted to really pursue my dream of filmmaking. And so, yeah, that was a whole other excursion of. I made the decision to sell my entire collection, all my props, to make my first film, which I'm going to show it to you here. But we're going to talk about my films tomorrow. This was my first film. It's got a glare there. It's called Dark Limbo. And that was my first film. And I only submitted it. It showed in Fort Myers, Florida, on the big screen. And I think the only film festival that I submitted it to, it was selected, the Peace River Film Festival. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing. And but I made a lot of props. I built a lot of stuff, and then the prop making took me over into film as well. I ended up making props for films. I made props for my film Dark Limbo. I made props for a series. I'm the co-creator and director of a series called Necessary Evil, the series, which you can check that out. It's on YouTube. It's got the first 7 episodes on there. When we made that series, it was the Daily Dot ended up doing a story on it and rated it as one of the top 5 crime dramas on YouTube. Anyways, I made a lot of props for that. I made a primitive bow and arrow set with a quiver and a primitive knife for a film called The Hunt. I worked on a film that had shoot, what's his name? Anyways, yeah, I made a lot of props for films. I got to work on one Hollywood production. Biggest set I always worked in the art department for that, and I was also an extra in the film. You can see me for like a split second behind, in front of one of the stars. But yeah, I've always loved doing this stuff. My mom used to do it. When I was a kid, there was Don Post, which I couldn't afford, and you had Ben Cooper, and there was another company called College or something like that used to sell rubber masks. There really wasn't it wasn't an abundance if you wanted to wear one of them plastic Ben Cooper masks. My mom used to rip stuff apart and make like cool costumes from scratch, and so I got a lot of my artistic ability from my mom. She was always ripping stuff apart and building stuff, and so but I've done a number of different size props, and I'm gonna do another one. One of the props that I had that I ended up selling was a contraption that had a glass vessel on it that had a brain with electrodes and stuff coming out. I'm going to do that again. I just got the brain. That's going to be like one of my next props. After seeing Keith 1/1 scale Gravedigger, though, what he's working on now, I'm inspired to try my hand at making a full-size standing. I've done laying, but I've never did a standing 1/1 scale figure, and I think I want to give it a try. Thanks to him. So anyways, I hope you're all doing well and you're hunkered down and safe and healthy and washing your hands and taking care of yourself and each other. So until tomorrow, you guys have a good night. Peace.